Hello, my name is Yosef Lange, and this is the weekly Zera Shimshon Shir, and I'm doing it from Parshat Vayakhel. It's Chaf Vav Adar, and it's Tafshin Pei. Now, the pasuk starts here. I'm doing Kapitel Gimel. The pasuk says, "Lo sevaru eish," don't kindle a fire. B'chol mosh v'seichem, in all of your dwelling places or habitations, b'yom HaShabbos, on the day of Shabbos. So he has an interesting psak. It brings from the Rambam, Zechron Avrocha, in Perek Beis in Hilchos Shabbos Halacha Chaf Beis. Zera Shimshon, this is his explanation, the Rambam. HaMehalech b'midbar. If you're going in the desert or any wilderness, v'lo yada masayhu yom Shabbos, and you don't remember when Shabbos is, so he should count from the day that he remembers, or he made a mistake, 6 days, and then sanctify the seventh day. And each and every day, even the day that he is making kiddush and separating himself and making havdalah, muter lo lasos kedei parnasasa bilvad, is permitted for him to use whatever malacha he needs to do, suffice if he needs to cook or something else, heat up water, kedei shelo yamos, in order that he shouldn't die. That's the end of the Rambam. That's the meaning of you shouldn't kindle a fire in all of your dwelling places on the day of Shabbos. So any of your dwelling places, your habitations, you can't kindle a fire on Shabbos. When you're regularly making a fire prepared for Shabbos, and in the Yishuv, in a place where it's inhabited. But if you're in the desert or in an uninhabited place, then you'll need to make a fire as b'Shabbos la'asais parnasascha, in order to take care of your needs. This is possibly the meaning of the pasuk in Shmais Chaf, Sheishes Yomim ta'avoid v'asisa kol malachtecha v'yom hashvi'i tishbais. 6 days you should work and do all of their work, and in the seventh day you should rest. All, as long as it's possible, 6 days you're capable of doing your work. That's when you know one day is Shabbos. Then in the weekday you can do whatever you need to do. Then on the seventh day you can't do any work. You can't do anything for yourself. But when you're in the midbar, you're in the desert or an uninhabited place, someplace in the woods, you're not able to do all of your work all of those 6 days. You can only do enough to suffice your needs, your physical needs. Need food to eat, need water. Then even on the seventh day, you can't keep that prohibition of not doing any malacha. That's what you will need to do in order to fulfill your needs. Now, I'm going to share a little extra. This is not from the Zera Shimshon, but it's a very important concept that a lot of people don't have in mind. Everybody's worried about everything. And especially it's a time of in the time of life when people are worried about just about everything you can imagine. So there's a famous pasuk. Well, it's a pasuk in Parshat Yisroi that's kind of repetitive, and there's an explanation for the Rabbi Chaim Kanievski that's amazing. I've shared this with many people. Anyway, it says Kisheishis Yomim Asa Hashem Havaya es ha-shamayim ve'es ha'oretz ve'es ha'yam ve'es kol asher ba'am v'yonach b'yam ha'shvi'i al kein berach Hashem es yom ha'shabbos v'yikadsheu. So 6 days God made the world, and the seventh day He rested. Now, The Vayakhel HaKadosh says like this. Al Zeh Derech, he says, Ki sheishes yamim asa Hashem. 6 days the God made the world. Pirush ki loy asa b'tchunas b'riyasam shi'amdu ela sheishes yamim. He didn't make the nature of everything in the world created. He didn't make it only to say 6 days. That's it. So therefore, according to that theory, according to that positing that fact, that's the way God created the world. Then every Yom Rishon, which is today, then He recreates the world, starting Motzei Shabbos. How does He do it? He recreates it by the Shabbos. The Shabbos recreates, gives the energy. It's the nefesh of the whole world, Shabbos. And therefore, on Shabbos, He stops from all the continuation of the work that's going on during the weekdays. Like the Gemara says, so the whole world was shaking, and comes Shabbos, it stood still. It kept with the position that it is. That's what it says. That's what He says, and it stopped. It rested on the seventh day. And the seventh day, which is Shabbos, gives us another 6 days. That's it. We don't need more. And every 6th day in the evening, which is when we make Kiddush, in the evening, right? I said that, okay? It terminates the whole techuna, the whole nature of the world producing more and more and more. So, and the world then takes in the message from God and stops producing, and it helps us continue the next 6 days. So if you want to worry, you got 6 days to worry about until next Shabbos. And then Shabbos completely recreates the world. Okay. I do have a segula of the Zera Shimshon this week, and it was in Parshat Vayakhel also, in the second edition of Nachman Seltzer's, Rabbi Seltzer's book. So the segula is the learning that a person does on Shabbos, okay, is worth more than the Torah study he accomplishes during the week. Reb Zev from Haifa had this story to tell. Of course, these are all pseudonyms, right? As a member of the workforce, I managed to learn the daily daf throughout the week, and not much more. Of course, I knew that I should find the time to learn more, but somehow it didn't happen. Then one Shabbos, I was sitting in shul, and there was a copy of the Zera Shimshon weekly newsletter lying on the table not far away. I picked it up and began perusing it, first idly, then with rising interest. The concepts were beautiful. Mamish pearls of wisdom in every way, and even the style of writing was clear and pleasant and professional. I enjoyed the Torah of the Zera Shimshon very much, and I was also drawn to the author's unique promise to all who learn it. So it began. Every week, without fail, I'd make sure to bring home a copy of the newsletter. Then, during the course of the Friday night Seudah, I'd read through the pearls contained within. This became a firm tradition in our home, a choik v'lo yavar. A year passed with the Zera Shimshon, by now a standard and much welcome guest in our home. Unfortunately, people are weak. For some reason, the newsletter was no longer distributed in my shul. And when that happened, instead of going out of my way to obtain a copy somewhere else, I just kind of allowed our precious Friday night Seder in Zera Shimshon to fall by the wayside. Time passed. One day I realized something interesting. I work as an insurance broker at a fairly large office. My take-home pay is dependent on the number of policies I sell. For many years, I had been bringing home a very decent salary and had been sufficiently satisfied with my parnasa to the point where I stopped giving thought to moving up in the company. You've done well, I said to myself. There's really nowhere else to climb. As I sat there, sunk in a rare moment of introspection, I realized that for the entire year that we as a family had been learning Zera Shimshon every Friday night, I had managed to close increasingly higher policies every month. My boss was surprised by my success. In truth, it really wasn't normal, and he couldn't stop smiling, increasing my paycheck. During that entire year, I'd enter the office in the morning, and from the second I sat down at my desk, I didn't have a moment to breathe from the sheer volume of work that was coming my way. I recalled the meetings and the phone calls and the contracts, and I realized how successful I'd been throughout the year, abnormally successful. But that wasn't the end of my realization, because I also understood from the moment I ceased learning Zera Shimshon, business reverted to the way it had been before. Suddenly, I was back to normal with a regular, modest paycheck and normal, moderate success. At that moment, I understood that the zechus of learning the Zera Shimshon had been standing on my side the entire year and assisting me with my parnasa in a very real way. It goes without saying that I was immediately resolved to begin learning Zera Shimshon again every Friday night, come what may, not because of the money, but because the Zera Shimshon had been such a clear and obvious source of blessing in our lives, a source of blessing that I was no longer willing to live without. Sure, money is important, but learning the Zera Shimshon is so much more than money. It's like a guardian angel keeping watch over a person, and that being the case, I didn't really see how I could willingly choose to forego such a wonderful schus. And maybe we'll all be married the schus of the Zera Shimshon to protect Klal Yisrael. Have a great, healthy week.